So today we're going to be analyzing the industry that we're in. That is the entertainment industry, that is the theme park industry. Okay, so we go back in history to understand where did we really start. Where do you think it started off first? Anyone? Where do you think it started off first? And where it's this is what's recorded. There might be maybe in another country it would have been there, but it was not recorded. Where do you think it was started? Where did you think? Any idea? Any guesses? So you'll have to speak up here because the chat room, I can't see it right now because I'm on the presentation mode. A wild guess? Right, so it started in England, and it's a very long time ago, as you can see. And by the 18th and 19th centuries, it's evolved into a place of entertainment for masses. And you can understand during that time, there was no TV, of course. There's nothing else but having these live acts. That was really the only thing that was available. So these live acts became very, very popular during this time. And again, the dramatists, the artists, the performers were highly sought after, and even the best ones go and perform for the king or the queen, the royalty. But for the masses, they had these theme parks when there's a lot of activities going on, like juggling and acrobatics and things like that. So it was, the theme parks were even from a long time. It was there then. So this place in Bakken, right? It is this is the world's oldest operating amusement park, and it was opened in 1583. Again, a very, very long time ago. And you can see that still operating from that time onwards, and it is, I don't think it has the glitz and glamour as Disney, but we'll come to it. But very much in operations even currently, right? And let's go to the history again and see what really kicked off during this time. What are the environmental factors that actually brought this thing, the theme parks and entertainments into the forefront, as well as certain things in the environment, at times stop us. So what did you think? What are the key things that really took it to that next level? So the first ones would have been people actually performing acrobatics and things like that. But then thereafter, things changed towards the 19th century. And what do you think? So I want somebody to start interacting with me now. So Tarun, are you able to talk to us? One second, I'm just wondering why I'm not hearing from any one of you. So can somebody talk to me? Because I just want to find out whether you're able to talk to me. Puneet, can you hear me? And are you able to talk to me? Okay, clearly there is something wrong in my settings. Let me check. 1 second, please. So everybody can hear me, correct? Fine. Okay. Let me go back. Okay, fine. So the history, we spoke about the history. So Tarun, can you talk to me something about this and what you think drove in kind of took this theme park, amusement parks to another level? What do you think? Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. So you can see my screen, right? Currently? Yeah. Okay. Right. So actually, when you look at these technology like the Ferris wheels, and as well as when something else is powering these rides, this I think became quite an interesting thing for people, right? They've never seen this. It's like the advent of the car, going from the carriage to the car. That was a huge revolution during that time, and this, and also of course the roller coasters, right, in the 1900s. So what do you think the main contributors for kind of bringing these entertainment amusement parks to a standstill? I mean, it can happen even now. So what are the things that can actually contribute to it? Okay, what else? Anything else, anyone? Yes, yeah, which is actually applicable even now, right? So during the First World War, the Second World Wars, as well as the Great Depression, these are the times where things can really come to a standstill, and entertainment is actually pushed back. However, just as things come to a stop, like the wars and the depressions, again there's a upward trend towards entertainment, because this is where people want to are really, it's a relief. People want to rejoice, people want to enjoy, and kind of it's a great place to be in finally, because there's war and everything going on. So I don't know whether you have read the life of Coco Chanel, and there's a movie as well, Coco Chanel, and she also became a great, of course she was a great entrepreneur, but one of the key things was she came in just after the war, right, during the war, as well as then immediately she became extremely popular, right? Have you heard of that story, Coco Chanel? Anyone? Marika, have you heard it? Right. So what we will do is go forward, because just to understand, I just brought in an example, say, because for us to understand what are the things that drive certain industries and what will come to a standstill. Now, with Walt Disney, what started him off was, he was doing a lot of, he was involved in this propaganda filmmaking, right? Did anybody do research on this about Walt Disney and how he started this off? Anyone out there? So Eugene, have you done any research on this? Right, okay. Anybody else who's done any research on Walt Disney? Because Disney Parks is one of the biggest parks that we've got. Anyone else? Because I want to get their views and I want to find out what they found out in this research. So what happened with Walt Disney is he was involved in this propaganda, filmmaking. And actually, during wartime, what happens is, people don't want to showcase movies which is like really, really horrible, right? Because you want to put the people's morale up, and even the people who are fighting in the battlefields, you want to showcase something very different. It's a fantasy world again, right? They want to take them to that different world. So as a result, he was very much involved in this filmmaking, and that kind of led him to starting off this Walt Disney, the theme park. And it opened in San Francisco in 1955, and you can see this is an industry where 50 largest companies, they are the ones who control this revenue, right, of these theme parks. So these big companies are generally, they have a very strong hold of the theme park industry, the amusement park industry. So that tells us a couple of things. Why don't we get many more coming into the market? What is the reason that others don't come into the market? Any ideas? Any ideas? Why? Sorry. Yeah. What else? So that is an entry barrier that we've got. What else? Mm-hmm. 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 Right. Right. So all in all, we have to do a lot of work here, right? So a lot of the companies are not interested in this kind of thing because huge investment goes in. So therefore, that creates an entry barrier. But then even an exit barrier is there because there's a lot of money involved. How can you recoup? You've got a lot of assets there, and there's a huge land there. How are we going to dispose of it, and etc., etc. So the entry barriers, exit barriers are there, as well as, like you said, Akram, I mean, even the operations are not easy. There's high risks, right? There's quite a number of risks involved. However, there are companies still going into this business, right? And it is making money. It's not as if it's not making money. Disney is making money. So why do you think they're making quite a bit of money? You see, there are companies that they're not making money in this industry, but Disney is making quite a bit of money. Why do you think? Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. 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 So basically, what you're mentioning is it's not. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it are they only in amusement parks? Is no, in the sense the question I asked is, are they only in amusement? How do they get their revenue? What are the other forms of revenue that they get? From where do they get? Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Mm-hmm. Correct. Yes. Right. What other businesses are they in? Right. Yeah. Yeah. So they have actually they by being in movies, in other hotels and everywhere else, this kind of industry. So the amusement parks are there, hotels are there, and what else have they got? Movies and anything else, right? The merchandising and right. So what? Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. So what are they able to do when they have access or when they kind of control all these things? So for example, they have access or they control all the media because they're into movies, they're in like filmmaking, they're into hotels, right? And also they have the theme parks. So in doing so, what can they do? How can they influence? Any idea? Yeah, go on. Correct. Yes. Correct. So they have a lot of power to influence you, right? Consciously and unconsciously, actually. Yeah. Like you said, through TVs, through ads, through movies, because when you look at the movies that they do, and then if kids are watching it, right, they get really influenced by these things, and then they'll have some advertisements on, this is what theme parks are, or some of their friends would have gone there, and they say, they get very excited about these things, and they themselves want to go. So they have created that ecosystem where they could influence the people very well, right? So as a result, what about in if we look at our case study, what do you think we can do? Or where are we in that ecosystem? Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. Correct. Correct. Any other ideas? Okay, so let's go to the next slide. And what we're saying is, one second, still Puneet has a problem. I'm not sure why it is. He's saying he can't hear me, but all of you guys can hear me well, isn't it? I think everybody who's there. So okay. 1 second. Okay. Right, let me go on. And what we're saying is, there's a lot of money involved in this industry, right? Many theme parks tried to copy Disney but failed, and the reason is money. Okay, because you need to put in a lot of money to start off, as well as then to go on with it, right, for the operations. Now we say we need to have partnerships with big brands. So can you give me some examples what I meant by these big brands? How can you partner with big brands, and what are the advantages and disadvantages of this? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. 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 Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. By doing that, what are the advantages? Mm-hmm. 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 Right. Correct. Yeah. 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 Yeah, yeah. So big brands is really a good way of moving forward, especially because we ourselves are having a bit of a problem with the debt, isn't it? Because we are heavily in debt. So if we have a partnership with some big brands, it'll be good for our own branding, as well as we are actually reducing the risks. Okay, we're trying to reduce our risks by then not actually putting in money into that particular operation. We can get them to run it for us, whether it's food or anything else, right? So what do you think the cost to build the Disneyland in China? How much do you think it costed them? So let's take a wild guess. How much do you think? Well, what do you think? This is not a pass or fail answer. You can take a guess. Oh, well, you're very close. A bit more though. Anyone else? Yes, 5.5 billion. That's what it is, right? And what about the rides? Now, once every 3 years, they're looking at upgrading rides, right? What do you think that's going to cost you? Well, again, a wild guess. Nobody's going to fail you for this. So the cost is going to be, sorry? Yeah, good, spot on. Yeah, very good. So that's the kind of cost that you will have to incur from an operational point of view, and as well as investment is 5.5 billion upwards. That's the kind of thing that's going to take place. Now this is crazy investment, right? Because it's a huge amount of money that's going in, and with a lot of risks involved. But still, the companies are going in for this because they see you can actually make quite a bit of return on this. Yeah. What happens to the old theme parks? What do you think happens to the old theme parks? Right? Is if someone closes down or they want to move from one location to the other, which does not happen on a regular basis, right? Then we need to figure out what's going to happen to these theme parks. What do you think? And what we're dealt with is we've got a big, large, land base. We have a land base, either we've leased it or whether we've bought it, that's there, right? Then we also have, we need to do redevelopment, either for golf courses, hotels, or something else. But how would you go about it? Would you go and redevelop it, or would you ask someone else to do it? If you're asking someone else, what is the reasoning behind it? What's the logic? Guys, you're very, very quiet today. Either you're thinking very hard. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What else? So when we have a large land base, right, this could be a question that might come in stating that, you are planning on closing your Middle East operation, right? And you have a worldwide operation all over the place. However, closing down the Middle East operation is going to cost you quite a bit, right? What are the options that you have, and how will you deal with it? As in, let's say, what are the options that you have? Sorry, it may not be Dubai even. So we've just said Middle East, right? They have just stated Middle East. Yes. Mm-hmm. 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 Yes. Yes. Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. 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 Right. Anyone else? Because the exit costs are quite a bit here, and they might be thinking, well, are you able to exit as well, right? Because one other thing is you're able to maybe use the park and maybe redevelop it for something else. But another aspect to that is you need to consider whether you're allowed to do that, right? Because the government has sold this land to you, or you're in business to do one activity, but now you're trying to do something else. Is it allowed? Right? There might be legal consequences as well that you need to take into consideration in this space, right? Any idea? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Yes. Yeah, yeah, that might be an option. Yeah, because really, like you say, there's these rides that we have invested heavily. What can we do with them, right? Can we reuse them for something? But the other aspect is, like you were saying, can we keep it there and then build on top of it something else, right? We will come to that in the next couple of slides, right? And this is where we can use them, right? Now, what do you think? Does anybody understand what virtual reality is, what it is? Tarun, are you aware? Or anybody? Yes? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But you need to be quite specific, and when you're explaining to the examiner, it has to be, what is it that you're talking about? Something digital, like for example, you need to say it's this, right? Because otherwise, it becomes quite theoretical, the answer. Yeah. So, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Right. Now we're talking about the future, right? And future is, now imagine their future is, if you're talking 10 years from now, right? But you also remember every 3 years I'm making a heavy investment, right? So the heavy investment that I make, I need to take into consideration where the strategy is and where I'm going to be moving, right? So where do you think these theme parks, amusement parks, where are they going towards in the future, 10, 15 years from now? What do you think? And what is virtual reality? Yeah. Anybody from the team? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. And another example of that, can you think of another example of that in a different industry or different product, like what it was 20 years ago? Right. Mm-hmm. 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 Yes. Right. So, Eugene, what is virtual reality then? Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Right. So basically, you're getting the experience, the feeling. So if something similar would be, you're going through a roller coaster, and how if I'm using the roller coaster, for example, if I use virtual reality, what can I do with that? Right. Yeah. Yes, exactly. So you kind of immerse in this experience, and you feel you're in a tunnel, or you're in, there's a waterfall. So you will hear the sounds of the waterfall, the smell, the spray of the water coming to you, right? But actually, you're not even close to a waterfall, but this is just the technology creating all that around you and making you believe this is where you are, isn't it? But when you try to do this, okay, currently the cost is quite exorbitant, right? This kind of thing. However, when the technology advances, right, you definitely, the cost component will drop. Okay, so what will happen to the future of the theme parks? What's going to take place? So, Tarun, yeah, go on. Greater competition, yes, from a new source altogether, right? What else, Russell? What else can take place? So, suddenly you are partnering with technology, right? Now, if you look at Google is investing in cars. They're not a car manufacturing company, right? But they're going into that, yeah. And you will see a lot of industries actually embracing technology. Technology is very much within that industry, very much a part, because technology is taking you to that next level, right? Right. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Yes, because they're changing with times, right? So let's look at the banking industry. So I'm sure I've got quite a few bankers out there, right? How have things changed? Look at your banking industry 20 years ago or 25 years ago. If you have to do a transaction or, deposit money or extra, get money out, what are the only ways that you could do it? You had to physically go to the bank, right? You had to go to the branch, you had to fill in forms and do lots of things. Today everything can be done from your mobile phone, right? So some time ago, I think mobile banking became very, very popular in Africa before anywhere else. Why do you think that happened? Mobile banking, as in not having the banking app itself, right? But being able to pay. I know there are people from Bangladesh here, isn't it? Am I right? Right. Sorry, I didn't hear you. Uh-huh. Right. So, Aaron, are you from Bangladesh? All right. Okay. Right. Because this was fascinating. About 15 years ago or so, when I was doing my MBA, I had people in the class from the western part of the world as well as from Africa. So the ones in Africa, for some discussion, they were talking about mobile banking, and they're saying, yeah, I will pay and receive money onto my mobile phone, and the participants from UK was like, what? How do you do that? And why don't you use a laptop? And why can't this happen? Like, how come you're using a mobile phone? But then the guy turned around and said, well, we can't afford a laptop, can we? But we can afford a mobile phone. So they had a very simple kind of not an app even those days, simple thing where you're able to receive money and pay somebody money as well. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. Right. Right. Okay. Yes. Mm-hmm. 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 Right. Yes. Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Yes. Right. Yes. Right. Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. No card required. Right. Yes. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they must be very successful there. So that's the same kind of concept in Africa as well, because they had very small amount of money and they can't afford to have these branches, setting up all over the place. And the cost was prohibitive. Therefore, they had this mobile banking. So we can say where the technology, as it improves, our theme parks are going to get impacted. So if we don't move fast and work with a technology partner, or partners, we are going to be left behind, right? So that's a partnership that needs this dream park really needs to be looking at. Okay, they need, because by having this partnership, actually there are quite a few things that they can mitigate, right? So one thing is making sure that we are future ready. Another issue that we have in this case is with regards to the animals that we've got. Yeah, so again we can look at a situation where we will start reducing or moving, phasing that out from our portfolio and bringing this new venture in. Now if you're going to be doing that, there are some changes that's going to take place, right? As well as investments coming in. Now, how would you deal with that? What are some of the, let's say, top 3 things that you would think about if you're trying to phase out this animal activities and bring in the new this virtual reality and etc. Mm-hmm. 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 Right. So what you're saying is bring those into our theme parks? Is that what you're trying to say? Right. Okay. Okay. Fine. What about others? Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Right. 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 Now, you guys have provided me 2 alternatives which are quite different, and it's good that you provided 2 different alternatives, right? One is, I would say, it could be better than the other, and one could be less riskier than the other. So can somebody else answer and say, what of the 2 options, what would you go for and why? So mm-hmm. 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 No, so now in this case, we've got two distinctly different approaches. One is use the current facilities as much as possible, and the other one is, well, move away completely and involve other partners to come in and work with you, right? Mm-hmm. Mm, mm, right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Yeah. Good analysis. And one of the other things you mentioned was, the resources, right? Resources, I would say, from a people perspective in this case. And any kind of change like this, both will require change, and change in skill sets, right? How would we manage that? That's a big question, because even though it's happening in one area of the park, right, it will impact the others as well, their morale, their sensitiveness, right, what they feel like, because we are actually employing a lot of staff. Okay, so if some staff are going to lose jobs because of this new things that's taking place, right, and first thing is rumors will go and stuff like that. If we don't manage it well, we're going to have a big problem in our hand, right, because we have not managed the resources, as in the people. So bear in mind, not only is the cost factor important, but one of our biggest ones is the people, because if they go on strike, right, that's going to create a lot of problem for us. And we have unions as well. Okay, let's go to the next one. So what's stated here is, again, this is from PwC, where they say, today's entertainment and media companies need to do three things to succeed: innovate around the product and their user experience, develop seamless consumer relationships across distribution channels, put mobile increasingly video at the center of their consumer offerings. So the first point, I want to find out from you guys, in whatever company that you work, what sort of innovation and how is innovation dealt in your own company? Yes? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. So what are the advantages and disadvantages here? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Plus, I mean, the security again, because if somebody is able to access one, is able to access track, in this case, you can quite easily get into all your other areas, where you've got either the bank, the insurance, whatever that is. That person, the fraudulent person, can have access to all your information, right? So that is correct. Yeah. Correct. Correct. Yes. That is also a bit of a problem. Yes. Yeah, yeah. So anyone else? Any other examples that you guys can give? Yeah, yeah. And anything else that's happening in your part of the world, Akram? Any innovation that you can give us as an example? Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Yes, and that is done again through, I mean, exchanges, and you have exchange houses and things like that, and actually instant, within an hour or so, the other party can access your funds that it's been transferred, right? So that's an innovation that's happened. And when we talk about seamless consumer relationships across distribution channels, what does it mean, and how can it apply to our case? And in our case, it's very important. How can we have this seamless consumer relationship across? So, any ideas? Okay, go on. Yeah, go on. So I think I'm only hearing from certain participants, so I'm going to call on certain others. Okay. Um, so, Russell, what do you think in this case? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. And what do they mean by across distribution channels? Tarun, any idea? Yep. Mm-hmm. 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 Right. Yeah. So that means you need to have, the people, the partners who are are working with you as well, need to have this information across and work with you as if they are working in your own company, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So in a airline situation, what would you like? What would you prefer to have? If you talk about, you're traveling somewhere, what sort of information would you have liked to have had if you're a passenger? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also if there are any delays, right? Yeah. Yeah. So it would have been great if they knew where you are. Say, for example, if they could send you. So, for example, you're traveling from one place to the other. You're in a car. You're going to the airport, and you're supposed to be boarding at a particular time. And they could track each individual person if you give access to them, of course, right? And if you approve that and say, right, no, I don't think you're gonna make it on time to the airport, right? So is it all right if I put you in the next flight? If you have that kind of information fed to you where you can make a decision, imagine the stress levels, right? It'd be great because you don't have that stress. You can say, well, okay, yeah, because there's no way I'm going to reach that place. Or you also link up with Google Maps, and they would know there's an accident in front, and say, well, you're traveling, but there's a huge accident, and there's a traffic jam, so there's going to be a lot of delay. You'll at least have 45-minute delay now, so I don't think you're going to get to the airport on time. So this type of information, if the passenger is given, this is going to improve your travel experience significantly, isn't it? Because you can make that decision, and this information is available to you. Okay, so let's go to the next one. 1 second, let me take this out. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So again, you are partnering with people, right, who who deal with masses, right? Again, like airlines, like any other tour operators, right? Hotels. So you have those people, the companies working with you to sell your product, right? And this way, definitely the affiliation, it helps. It helps both ways. Yeah. So theme parks and the Middle East. This is an interesting thing that I picked up, where saying, even though we have invested quite a huge amount, they think that Dubai Parks and Resorts, they think they're really gonna make it because of what's gonna take place in 2020, right? And they have really geared up the whole infrastructure to accommodate this Dubai 2020, and we in our Middle East now, we don't know where our park is in the Middle East, so it is quite surprising why they're making a loss. Okay, whereas we can see there's a lot of investment going on in parks in the Middle East, one in Abu Dhabi, one in Dubai, right? Any other views on Dubai Parks and Resorts? Any information that you've got? Okay, so this is a question that I have for you. Now, what I would like you guys to do in this is actually do an answer plan, a 10-minute, I will give you 10 minutes to come up with an answer plan, right? In this case, the CFO has informed the finance director that the board is contemplating on bringing on a specialist act, like something similar to Cirque du Soleil, for 5-year period, and they will work in all geographic locations that Dream Park operate. So they go around, taking their time. The cost of the 5 years is approximately 400 million that we have to sign up with these guys. So the finance director would like you to like your view on this, and also take into consideration the below things, right? Due to the high cost involved in engaging this specialist team, I'm concerned if we can afford it. The specialist team's reputation is very high in the entertainment business. Therefore, we expect they will bring in additional sales. So you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, really, because one thing is affordability, but then again, the thinking, well, it's going to bring in additional sales, and he's also asking, what impact will this agreement will have on our share price, right? I've adapted this from a past paper, that's August 2015, variant 1. So I'll give you 10 minutes for you to come up with an answer plan, right? And if you want, you can also use the type of different models that we have done before, yeah? So it's 7:10 my time and 7:20 my time. I'll come back to you. I put myself on mute right now. Right, so how are you guys doing now? Will you be able to share some of your answers with us? Great. Okay then. Yes, please. So I can't see anything as of yet. Yep, thanks. Yeah, I can't see it. Right, so you're stating the logic, right? And you're saying, well, it's high cost and low liquidity, so then that in itself is going to have a problem, right? Specialists unknown locally and worldwide, so there can be advanced booking. So that's an advantage. It will remarkably increase our goodwill, and share price are expected to skyrocket in the market. Okay, all right, so these are the key things that you have thought of when you're looking at the investment, right? Anyone else who wants to share? Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. 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 Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Good point. Yes. Mm-hmm. 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 Right. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, good, good. I like the different viewpoints where saying, and you have used Ansoff matrix here, yeah? T- right, good. So you've used two models to showcase your technicality in it, and you're bringing some structure into the answer. Yeah, that's what you've done. Arun, anything from you? Right. Yeah. Have you got anything written? Yeah, you want to share it with us? Okay, fine. All right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Okay, fine. Russell, anything from you? Right. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Correct. Yes. Yeah. 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 Right. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because yeah. Yeah. Okay. So some really good points coming through because you're saying that 5 years is a long time. Try it as a POC somewhere, like proof of concept, yeah, and see how it's working, and what works in one place may not work in another place. Yeah, very very good points. And anyone else who's got additional points to add to this? Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right, right. Okay, yeah. Any other creative ways that we can talk about funding this? Yes, very good. Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Doesn't cover, right. Yeah, yeah, right. So some very good points, but the thing is, where I would like you to actually do a full answer for this and come up with some of the do a kind of a 60-minute answer for this and put it up there, because it is important that you structure your question well and answer it touching on the key points, right? And looking at, actually looking at the couple of models that we mentioned here. And for any investment, it is important to think of these models and say how we can incorporate them, because that will give you that structure that you very much need. Okay, so let's go back to my slides. I just put in the SAFES model because I did a class in the morning and some people was not very familiar with the SAFES model, and I have to build a little bit on this model because I'm not going to go into detail, because I think most of you guys are aware of SAFES model. If you're not, just talk to me or just put in your chat saying I'm not very familiar with SAFES model, can you please explain? In our next class I will come up with examples as well. So here I talk about the suitability, what suitability means, and the next one is from a suitability perspective, how do we look at it? We use the PESTEL 5 forces, the strategic groups, and then look at how to understand it and the suitable strategies that we tend to address. Okay. Now, brand is very important to us because we need to find out what we are actually offering, because everything else that we offer can link to this brand and the brand will come alive, right? And we also always need to keep this brand alive. So you can't just stay static after you bring something, the brand awareness and etc. You have to have ongoing activities in order to create this brand and maintain this brand. Okay, so can you give me, now here I have given you examples of an example of Disney, but in another industry, can you give me an example of a company that's constantly trying to keep up the brand and create awareness and keep the brand alive? Yeah, go ahead. Right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Correct. Yeah. So if you talk about Dubai, I mean, constantly it is, and Sheikh Mohammed has some amazing quotes, and he talks about reaching excellence, and you start the race, end is not what you're looking for, and there are some amazing quotes that he mentions, and of course it comes from the top. And Dubai, what it was 40 years ago and what it is now, it's an amazing story, and constant innovation, constantly looking at ways to create that brand and put it out there, and by doing so attracting investment, much needed investment, and also putting this geographic location on the map, and everybody knows about it. Another company that comes to mind is the Emirates Airlines, because again constantly they're looking at ways in creating that brand awareness and keeping it alive. So during the cricket tournament, the recent one, they had some of the cabin crew going there to India and performing the Indian dance. I don't know how many of you have seen it. It's quite amazing. Really, the fans go crazy and everyone's cheering, laughing, and things like that. So another thing that they do is they support a lot of sport. right? By supporting sport like soccer, you reach a mass amount of masses, and in doing so, you create that brand awareness, and suddenly everybody in South America knows who is Emirates, right? Even though Emirates does not fly in there, people know about Emirates because of the sport that they sponsor. We also saw them, yeah. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Didn't know that. And another thing is during the soccer, right? Recently, where they had the cabin crew, the females playing soccer, and it was very nice. It's form of entertainment. Again, it's creating that awareness. Okay, so it's important our brand, the Dream Park brand, creates that brand image and constantly look at ways of improving that brand image and reaching out to different people and doing different things with the brand. Okay. Mm-hmm. Correct. Yes. Yes. Correct. Yeah. Good question. Anybody from Dubai who wants to answer that? Arun? Do you... Right. Okay. So, right. Tarun? Anyone there who wants to answer? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Correct. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Right. Just to, during, I think that was 2008, 2007, 8, that time when the property boom was happening, right? And the rules and regulations related to property were not that strong. And even the banking, it was not as strong, right, as what it is today. And if you look at it, it is a very young country. It's not very old. And where it is currently, it's an amazing story. But to your point, I think one of the students, what they said was, well, a lot of it, when it comes to investment and entrepreneurship, I mean, this country is run like like a business, right? It's about the confidence. It's about what you believe in, right? And you strive for it. So if there is negative and everybody talks about negative things, automatically things are going to go down, Right. Now, this happened in Australia during the recession, and that was a GFC. Now, Australia was not impacted, right? But everybody started, they stopped spending, right? So much so the government, they had to come in and say, guys, I need you to spend because the economy has come to a standstill, right? This was a ridiculous situation because whole of Australia is not spending, and if you don't spend, economy stops, right? So one of the things you would not believe is the government, if your income is below certain amounts, your taxable income is below a certain amount, they said, and they did this, they gave $1,000 each. And they said, I do not want you to put it in your bank account, I want you to spend it, right? Because it was a crazy situation where everybody is trying to hold on to money and for nothing because Australia was not impacted. Right. So to your point, I think one of the students mentioned, it is important that we show that positive attitude and go forward, but of course not forgetting the controls, because during 2007-8, when it was building up, there were the controls were not there. Not like today. There's quite a bit of controls. You will see the banks are not lending. They're very, very careful to whom they lend, right? Which is a good thing, which is very good, because some time back they were just open lending to anybody. Yeah. So yeah. So these are some of the things that lessons learned, and things have changed, right? But having said that, if you in the Burj Al Arab, that's an iconic building, an iconic hotel, and the occupancy rate is like over 90% at any time, right? So I'm just giving an example of one property, but yes, there are other properties, but there are a lot of people around Dubai who come in, and it's transient, so they come in to spend money and things like that. So in that effect, well, are we going through the same thing? I don't think so, because things are quite different now, right? So getting back to our case study, PwC again says, put simply, today's entertainment and media industry is about consumer choice, innovation, and experience. So basically, consumers have a lot of choice. So they are looking for a lot more from the provider. So if you're just saying, well, you come and experience a roller coaster, no, I want something more than a roller coaster ride, right? You have to give me something more, and that's what they're looking for. Yeah. And as a company, we need to recognize this and offer this to our customers. And I think in the beginning of the class, somebody mentioned about merchandise and how to, it's the merchandise linked to memories, right? You buy stuff and you remember, you keep those momentums and, those merchandise for memories. And there are slogans as well, and slogans are linked to building the brand. Any examples that you guys can remember or come up with regards to slogans? No, any other brands that you can think of? Right, okay. And what they do is they will actually create everything else, all the activities that they've got, they link it to that slogan, and the that's how they build the brand as well. So that this is the reason why it has to be a living, breathing thing, and all the employees who are facing the customer and who are not facing the customer as well need to be living, breathing this kind of brand. Now, when it came to our Disney, their focus is on family, right? Whereas Six Stars, their focus is on thrill-seeking, these rides. And so you can see these two different theme parks are going on, two different brandings, and they are focusing on different customer segments. But in our case, ours is focusing primarily on family. Now, food and merchandise is an area that they can make a lot of money, and they can improve on. Okay, so I want some examples from you guys about food and merchandise, even in another industry, how they use these to promote their brand, to get more money, increase their revenue, right? Tarun, if you can start off. Mm-hmm. Jolly Bear. Mm-hmm. 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 Right. Okay. Anyone else? Mm-hmm. 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 Right. Right. Yeah. Okay. So that's about the merchandise. Okay. Anyone else? Swati? How about you? Are you able to give us some examples? So, because this is an area where they can make a lot of money. So this is why I want to get some input from you guys. So what about Salahuddin? Are you able to talk to us? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So they're born with McDonald's in their mind, is it? Right. Right. Okay, that's interesting. So there's some, they create that kind of curiosity, isn't it? So, right. Uh, uh-huh. Uh-huh. Right. So there you go. This is psychology, right? That they're using, because why should you're getting a meal? Why are you serving something else? Okay? And that must be something really small, and actually the meal costs more than that small toy. Okay? But they're promoting that. But that's the thing that's really driving the sale of the meal. So that again is a very, very, very good point. Walid, anything from you? Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. 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 Right. So in this case, what you're saying is supply code of conduct, and the reasoning is, and why would it matter to anybody else? Okay, food poisoning is a different story. Leave that. But nowadays, people are very concerned about what they wear, what they eat, in terms of, where it comes from, right? Whether it's ethical, whether it's sourced ethically, right? Whether you've used, when it comes to labor, you've not used child labor, right? So all those things become very important these days, unlike 25 years ago, right? So in this case, what would our dream park have to do here? Mm-hmm. Right. So never mind our accidents in our park, right? That's not the thing that's going to cause the bad headlines, but it's the merchandise or the food items that's really going to cause headlines if we don't manage and monitor that. Yeah. So that becomes a big thing. There are some other things that you can promote. I mean, food is a big revenue generator, right? But you guys have not come up with more things. Yeah, go on. Mm-hmm. 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 Right. Right. Very good point. Yeah, yeah. So at least you can talk about, and we have enough space, right? And we can have, find out from big data what type of people from which parts of the world they're coming in, right? At least the majority, the top 5 or top 10, we can have the cuisine, especially from that part of the world. And of course, vegetarian, whether you come from any part of the world, there are lots of vegetarians from different parts of the world. It's not only India. So we need to cater to that as well. Yeah. So that's a very, very key thing. So I call Kimani? Can you speak to us? Are you able to give some input? Yeah, Kimani, are you able to talk to us? Yeah, yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, great. So where do you come from, Kimani? Right, okay. So can you give us any more additional things to our food and merchandise? How can we improve this? How can we generate more money? Right. Okay. So this is something that you need, guys. If you're struggling here to kind of think of ideas, how I'm going to be doing this, you have to do some research. right? Look at what Disney is doing, right? And I'm gonna put up an, yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. 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 Right. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Correct. Yeah. 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 Correct. Yes, yeah, you're spot on there because if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, food is one of the key things, right? The one of the main things that a human is looking for. That's the main need. So food is very important to us, and we have different. Tastes, and we have to basically they can make a lot of money if they understand. And again, I'm talking about big data here to figure out, well, are you able to see what type of people are coming from, which the geographic locations, where do they come from, so we can then plan for their food. And we can also create food items which can be kind of very novel, which you can't get anywhere else. Okay, we can do that as well. Then again, like that like you guys mentioned about McDonald's, and kids actually they're not interested in the food itself, but they're interested in the toy. So then suddenly you become interested in that particular food item. Like for example, you talk about Jolly Bear, and you said Jolly Bear cookies, and make it like Jolly Bear, and make some other thing like Jolly Bear special drink, and put it in a container which looks like Jolly Bear, right? And you can do lots of things like that and make it quite creative. And then of course charge a premium, but people they're willing to pay for that because of you're giving them something different. Yeah. Any other? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. So I will spend last few minutes discussing this, right? Because it's a very important topic. 1 second. I think we'll end with this one. I will stop sharing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. So one of the key things that you need to do is do a bit of research on merchandise. For example, what Disneyland does, right? And the merchandise. I think I have got a article there which I've saved for you, right? So you need to start reading those articles as well. The next time what I'm going to do is what I put up there, I'm going to ask questions from you so that I make sure all my hard work, you're actually reading them, because I do a bit of research to get this information out there. So I want to ensure that you guys read. So the next class, I'm going to ask you guys questions on that. Yes, I'm going to put it in the Dropbox. Yeah. So to answer the question about big data, I might give you like a 2-minute answer, but I will elaborate it in our next class, because if there is an issue here that people don't understand. Now, big data is anything that is internal as well as external, that you bring together to a company will bring together to understand what the future is going to look like. So, well, nobody's interested, in the sense accountants are interested. Like, we look at the past with our financial data and financial reports and things like that, but that's the past. But as management accountants, we are all the time looking at the future, right? That's the key. We will look at the past, we'll look at our internal transactional data as well as the outside. So the person who asked me the question about big data, can you tell me which industry you work in? Right, okay, so that I can actually give you a banking example. Now, if I look at banking, they use big data constantly, right? And why do they use big data? Because they're working with the public. Now, with public, you have lots of people. Now, I want to find out, I don't want to give a generic product because I don't know what you really want. Okay, so I want to understand more about you. I want to understand your spending patterns. I want to understand what areas are you spending on most. Okay, I'm not able to get this information if I don't go into the transactions, right? And also that is an individual's transactions, and bring it down and analyze it and try to create patterns. Now, that is one side of it. Another side I want to understand is, what about the future? So I will look at what is the economy look like, what is the government doing? Are they providing us tax exemptions for certain things? For example, let's say the Australian government is providing tax incentives for you to invest in properties. What do you think immediately what will happen, right? Immediately people will start taking loans, right, to invest in property, because they know that things are going to now the government is giving us these incentives. Similarly, right now what's happening in Australia is one of the opposition is thinking of taking there's something called negative gearing, that is when you buy property and you're renting the property, it's an investment property. If you're renting it and if your expenses are more than your income, of course there's a negative figure. You can set off that negative figure against your income, right? In any other income that you get. So this is called negative gearing. Now, the Australian government, the opposition is saying, well, if I come into power, I will be taking off this negative gearing for expats, right? Immediately it will send a signal to the banks. What signal does it send to the bank? That in the future I might expect people selling off the properties and not taking loans, right? So my sales is going to reduce immediately. So that's what the message is to the bank, right? But the bank, if bank only focused only on the current customers and just only looked at that and said, okay, I'm going to be living under a rock kind of thing, I'm not bothered about the environment, I don't know what's happening, they cannot plan for the future, right? Now another gentleman gave the example of the mobile banking, right? Again, you can look at how many people do we have in this country who earn below X amount, right? If you have a majority in that group, yeah, then even if our traditional banking is offering one way of, there is one way of doing things, it would be advisable for us to look at offering a different product altogether. But that we were able to get only through analyzing external data. That was never there in our own internal data. Does that make sense? Right? The next question you asked, who does this? Do we have systems to do this? Right? So to answer to that, that's $1 million question. This is where a lot of money is spent. Now, big data is a fancy word. It's not a cheap thing. It's very expensive. Right? So what happens here is there are multiple systems that can be used, and they are generally done by a specialist, IT specialist, right? So in this case, you might be working with IT specialist. It's like something like an ERP, like a financial accounting system, like enterprise resource planning. You have that, but and then you get IT specialists to come in and implement certain things, right? We will do a question. I think I have already put a question on big data, if I'm not mistaken. If not, I'll put a question on big data. It's very important for you to understand and answer that question, because it's highly likely you may get a question. I don't know what variant, but we use big data, especially the industry that we are in. We need to use big data, right? Does that make sense? Did you understand what it is? Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. So you will be getting data from, so imagine this, right? You will get data from the government. The government will have databases, right? Which you can include into your this big database. You will get information from your systems, like your sales systems, your systems from the park itself, which will record the number of rides and etc. So you get information from there. Then you'll get information even from suppliers, whatever that they're willing to share, right? Any customers, anywhere, right? Anywhere that you can lay your hands on. But you need to be strategic and think first. You need to think, what questions am I going to ask? What is it am I going to ask? Because you can't just say, okay, bring down all the data possible into my big database, right? Now I had a situation like this with one of my colleagues, right, where he mentioned exactly that. I don't know what I want, but I want all the information from about 25 systems, and these systems are not small systems, right? So that is not a practical thing to do because it's costing a lot of money. So you need to be very clear in your mind. What are you going to, like, what is the question? You may not know exactly, but at least you need to see, about the customers. What are you trying to look for, right? So if you're trying to increase sales, what are the things that they may look for to entertain? How can we basically, give them some excitement, entertainment that others are not offering? So it is a lot of you need to kind of have a good brainstorming session to kind of figure out what do you want, because the problem is, if you don't do that, your IT guy is not going to come and give you the answer, right? A lot of the time the company is expecting the IT to solve the problem, then IT should run your business. Okay, so that's the thing. So you need to know what you want first in order to tell IT guys, well, this is what I want. Okay, fine. So what I would like you to do is I would like to go through the questions, the answers that you provided in the Dropbox the next time. So if you can please write your answers and put up there, that'll be great. I'm gonna save this slide pack in my Dropbox now, but I will be adding to it as well. So this slide pack will get updated. Okay. So we will be covering our industry analysis the next class as well. Any questions before you close? All right. Good night then.